Hello everyone, I'm Verity, one of the Mathsoc academic secretaries.
I'm Tom, the treasurer for Mathsoc.
I'm Sophie, one of the academic secretaries as well.
And we're here with Gustav, who has kindly agreed to do an interview about all things maths. So first off, what inspired you to become a mathematician and how did you get from that point to where you are today?
So I actually started out being fascinated by physics and fundamental physics. So I just asked these standard questions of what's the matter made of, how big is the universe? But you can't do fundamental physics for very long before you get into really fascinating pure maths. So in my case, I was pulled into infinite dimensional symmetry algebras and quantum groups. And then I needed to find a place where people understood that maths and theoretical physics really belong together. And that brought me to the UK, because ever since Newton, in Britain, everyone knows that you shouldn't make a sharp distinction between physics and maths. And so, does that answer your question, or you want more detail?
I think that answers our question. Yeah, just sort of how, like, with your sort of academic journey, I guess, how you like your study in universities and then becoming a lecturer.
Yeah, so I was very lucky as an undergraduate student in Germany to get to find two others in my year group who were we were all sort of egging each other on. We were competing against each other to be the cleverest, and also we always worked up the courage to go and bother the lecturers with our questions. We were extremely obnoxious back then, which didn't mean we got along well with our fellow students, but we had this interesting experience that the lecturers and the professors didn't mind us being obnoxious and always feeling that we knew better than them. And so that launched me off into a trajectory where I got noticed, and then you get pushed on. So then my professor said, go to America. That's where everyone needs to have been. So I did my PhD in America. And then I decided, after a year of postdoc and a year at CERN in Geneva, that it was time to earn some proper money, go into industry. And I applied for a job at Siemens and got offered the job. And then just by pure luck, they stopped hiring people because they got into financial difficulties. And so I stayed in academia, and I'm so thankful for that, because this life suits me much better than the pressured life in industry, where you need to work on projects that others decide and to deadlines that others decide, whereas I'm more suited as an academic. Yeah, and I can't describe to you exactly how academic life works, but basically, if you're fascinated by stuff, you get noticed and you're given jobs.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Like, sort of an encouragement to get noticed by your lecturers in university as a way to
definitely
academic life.
Yeah, and hang out with other students who share your passion. So I guess good advertisement for Mathsoc, right? Because you hang around with other mathematicians. So next question, please.
The next question is, what is your favorite thing about your job?
That I have the leisure to, when something interesting comes up, to just pursue it. I've got this freedom to just drop what I'm doing and investigate this new thing. And so what I like is that as a mathematician, I'm welcome to meddle in any other scientific topic that I get an interest in, because all the other scientists always love to have mathematicians to help out. So as a mathematician, we have skills that are just really in demand. And so we can just, as outsiders, go into, for example, ecology, epidemiology, and actually contribute.
Yeah.
So that's what I currently like, going into other fields where I don't really know anything and then learn from people in those fields.
That's great. Thank you.
What part did you want me to ask then?
So could you said that you got involved with like other fields. Could you say what other fields you're getting involved in at sort of the moment?
Yes. So I got involved with fisheries modeling because luckily we had a professor in biology, Richard Law, who's quite well known in the field, who had an interesting equation modeling fish population dynamics. This was a partial differential equation. And so he quite correctly thought, let's go to the math department and see if anyone wants to study this interesting partial differential equation. So yes, so that's what I'm still doing. I like the fact that there I can actually contribute to real world problems. So fisheries is one of these areas where they actually take mathematical models very seriously, far too seriously actually. So when they set the fishing quotas in an attempt to avoid the collapse of the stock, they rely on mathematical models. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, they're the wrong mathematical models, because they aren't the mathematical models that I got involved with. So there is now this challenge of changing people's belief from the old models to the new models. But it is a bit scary how much trust people put into models. I think we are all experiencing a bit of that whenever the Prime Minister says he is led by the science, but he means he's led by some scientific models of how the COVID epidemic is going to evolve and how it's going to react to various interventions. As a mathematician, you know that these models aren't quite up to the job. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing at the moment, the fishery stuff.
In your opinion, why do you think that the Manav project is important research?
The what project?
Manav, the fish one.
You actually did your homework and saw about the EU project. We model the size of the fish rather than just looking at how many fish there are of a particular species. We also look at the size that changes as the fish grow up, and there are effects that are important in order to get enough fish out of the sea to feed everyone. Fish is really crucial for nutrition, especially in developing countries. It's protein rich, and so you want to get a lot of fish out of the ocean, but you need to make sure the ocean actually is productive enough to do that. So you need to make sure there's a nice conveyor belt that takes the small fish and make them grow up to large fish that we can then consume. And the modeling of this, sort of think of it as a journey from small size to big size. That needs to be modeled properly to take into effect possible bottlenecks. I don't know how much you want me to go into the detail of the model, because actually
No,
probably you don't want me to go too far into the detail. But anyway, I feel it's important so that we get to a way of fishing the ocean in a sustainable way that still produces a lot of nutrition for whoever needs it.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because that's how math can be applied in like real life important issues, which is really nice to see, because sometimes when you're sat just doing differential equations, it can be like, this is fun, but how am I going to make use of this?
Yes, this is a bit of a problem with learning math. You actually need to learn a lot of stuff before you figure out how to actually make it useful in practice.
Yeah.
Luckily, I think in the third year with some of our modules, you already get to see the usefulness. I just know because I'm currently teaching mathematical ecology and epidemiology, and I think from students, they get a sense already that actually this is not just my nice math, it might actually even be useful.
So what key mathematical result do you wish that you discovered, and why?
You mean that I wish I had discovered rather than someone else? Or you wish that had been discovered? Right, because I don't really care whether I discover it or someone else discovers it. So I think when I rediscover something that someone else has discovered, I get as much kick out of it as if it hadn't been discovered before. So yeah, so if that was the aim of your question, I don't care who invents something, as long as I'm allowed to rediscover it. There are certainly things that I would have liked to learn about earlier or find out earlier than I have found them out. So for example, when I was studying physics and maths, I hadn't appreciated the importance of probability theory. I discovered that only later in life. And there are, of course, fascinating results in there, that, like the central limit theorem, which is, I'm happy someone discovered it, but I don't care that it wasn't me.
The next question is, how did you get involved with the R package Mathsoc, and how important do you feel open source projects are to your field and maths in general?
You really do your homework. That is impressive. So I think the way research is done these days, where people make sure that their research is reproducible by providing the code that allows others to rerun all the analysis, is wonderful. This is a big improvement. You can now, no researcher ever got everything perfectly right from the beginning. So it's good that you can get checked by using open source software. The other thing, of course, is that we learn a lot from each other. In the past, we could only learn from each other how to do analytic work. But now that there is open source software and every researcher makes their code available, we can learn from each other's coding tricks as well. Now, I don't know, many mathematicians probably don't quite understand why I should be excited about code, because do you really need code to do math research? But yes, you do. For most of math research, there is coding involved, certainly in all the applied maths, but also in some of the pure math. Before you find a new theorem about the distribution of the zeros of the Riemann function or the primes, you run some experiments to get some intuition of what the conjecture should be. Yeah, so now MISA specifically, we are just trying to use that as a sort of Trojan horse to get our type of modeling accepted in the fisheries policy world by making it easy for people to actually use our models and see what they predict. And yes.
That was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you must stop me because, of course, I could talk to you about Miser in detail for a long time, but I don't think that would be very interesting for you. I mean,
Based off our lectures last year in statistics, one student wants to know whether you prefer Smarties or M&Ms.
ha! M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, right?
Mm.
Have you been to the M&M World in London?
I've seen, no, I haven't been there. What's in there? Have you been there?
Yeah, I went a few years ago. It's just loads of M&Ms, but they've got like a pick and mix wall. So there's loads of flavors that they don't sell in shops. Types. Good.
Yeah, okay, something for the post-lockdown world to explore.
The next question is, if you had to choose another career to go into, what would you choose and why?
Career. I'm completely stunned by this question. This is inconceivable that I would choose another career, unfortunately, because there is no other career that would suit me, I think. Right? So lots of careers that I have high respect for, but they need different personalities. So I very much believe in choosing a career that's fitted to your personality, and that's the academic career for me.
When you're in Germany, what do you miss most about York? And when you're in York, what do you miss most about Germany?
Well, actually, what I'm missing most at the moment about York are my cats. I deserted my cats already when I came over before the latest lockdown, and now they're there and I'm here. Otherwise, about York, that I can cycle everywhere without getting run over or getting too many exhausts into my nose. What do I miss when I'm York? Well, Berlin is wonderful in summer because it's got lots of lakes that you can actually swim in. So Germans like to swim in lakes. The British like to fish in lakes. And unfortunately, they like the fishing so much that they don't like people to swim in the lakes. And I find that is a pity because it's nice to, in the summer, to jump into a lake and swim.
Just back to the cats. What are they called and what type of breeds are they?
They're called Tonka and Bean, and they're just the standard kind of cat. I don't know actually what you call them, but they're not a particular breed. But one is black and white, and the other one is cat-colored. I mean, this brownish kind of. Yeah. And at first I thought, oh, they look like every other cat. But once you get to know them, they actually have quite a personality. They're supposed to be brothers, but they're completely different in their personality. So I call them my cats, but they're actually my daughter's cats. So my daughter went to the shelter and chose them. But I feel like they're my cats too.
So what do you think makes a good mathematician?
Good mathematician. Well, you need to really want to find out things very precisely, and you should be satisfied only if the logic of your thoughts are perfectly clear. So a taste for logic, unambiguity, so precision, and then of course real enjoyment when you have managed to understand something with that clarity that only maths can give you. I don't know what is a good mathematician. I should probably say one that does a lot of networking and publishes lots of papers and proves lots of important theorems. But I think you are more after the personality that makes a mathematician typically a mathematician. Fortunately, mathematicians these days have to do lots of other things as well that are important to get your work noticed and have impact. And but that's not the thing that is typical for a mathematician. These are just the other things you need to do these days to get recognized. But it's the clarity of thinking that's the typical mathematician's strength. So yeah. You ask difficult questions. And you don't give me the time to reach the kind of clarity that I would like in my answer. But this is good.
The final question is, if you could be a cake, what type of cake would you be and why?
Give me types of cakes. I don't even know what types of cakes there are. I choose then one. So they're these ones with lots of cream and they're very fluffy and there's nothing in it rather other than air. So I don't want those. Give me some other kind.
Fruitcake?
Fruitcake, chocolate cake.
Okay, so fruit cake and chocolate cake, they're both very rich, so that's good. I think I'm going to go for the brownie with lots of walnuts in it.
Very nice.
Now, I'm now pretending that I want to be the cake that I also want to eat. And maybe that isn't the right way of approaching the question, because do I really want to get eaten? So no, I want to be a really dry, revolting cake so that I have a long life before I get.
Oh, I think you got cut off.
Hello?
I froze for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My internet seems to be a bit unstable.
Okay, well, that was.
But am I back now?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to come and be interviewed for Mathsoc. It's been really, really interesting. So thank you very much. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching this as well.
It was a lot of fun. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.